Kia ora, good evening and welcome to Central News for Wednesday the 30th of July 2014. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. In today's news, Eastern Waikato Police, investigating the Monday night shooting of two people at a Thames home, say they're making good progress but still need the public's help. Detective Sergeant Martin Hughes said officers had identified a number of persons of interest following Monday night's gunpoint home invasion of a Parawai Road home. A 17-year-old woman and an 18-year-old man shot in the incident received treatment at Waikato Hospital, while a 73-year-old man injured in the incident was kept in Thames Hospital overnight but has since been released. Police are still wanting to hear from anyone who was in the area of Parawai Road between 7:30 and 8:30 on Monday night who may have seen or heard anything suspicious and ask that they contact Thames Police. Women represent just 30% of local and central government in New Zealand, and that figure has remained static for over a decade. So concerned by this low statistic was Hamilton City Councillor Angela O'Leary that she decided to do something about it and created the support group Women in Politics. The group aims to support women already in politics and improve women's representation in politics in New Zealand by encouraging our future generation of women into a life of politics. Founder and chair Angela O'Leary explains why there is a need for a group such as Women in Politics.
Women in politics nationally and actually internationally are very lowly represented, and in New Zealand that's a third, so we feel that that's a very low statistic, and we want to do something about that.
In sport, and following a 4-day camp in Whakatane, the Steamers will be kicking off their pre-season campaign with a match against Hawke's Bay tomorrow in Rotorua. The game will kick off at 2 p.m. at Rotorua International Stadium with the curtain raiser between John Paul College First 15 and Rotorua Lakes High School First 15 kicking off at 12 p.m. Gates open at 11:30 and tickets are available from boprugby.co.nz. NZ V8 Jet Sprints at ASB Bay Park has been announced as a finalist in the Emerging Event of the Year as part of the New Zealand Association of Event Professionals Event Awards. Hamilton's Balloons Over Waikato is a finalist in the Best Established Community Event. The NZAEP Event Awards have been relaunched this year with a new format, and head judge and former Rugby World Cup 2011 chief Martin Snedden says the judging panel was impressed with the number of high-calibre entries submitted. And staying with awards, just after 2 years in business, Hamilton's Diamond Jewellers took out Business of the Year at the Hamilton Central Business Association Awards last week, much to the surprise and delight of owner Dale Mooney. The business was up against a record number of entrants in the awards and won 3 prizes across 6 categories. Diamond Jewellers also took home the Retail Excellence Award and collected a highly commended in the Most Outstanding Customer Service Person Award category for staff member Marlene McCabe. Taking a look at the marine forecast now. Raglan expect a nor'west of 15 knots everywhere on Thursday morning with a high tide 19 minutes past midnight tomorrow morning. Bay of Plenty, poor visibility and rain should clear this evening with a nor'west of 15 knots and high tide 17 minutes to 10 tonight. Still to come on Central News, we discover more about La Leche League and the Big Latch On. Up next, we find out more about the new fundraising initiative for Daffodil Day. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. Choose Your Challenge is a new addition to the Cancer Society's Daffodil Day appeal that begins this Friday, August the 1st, and runs for the entire month, culminating in a national street collection on Daffodil Day, Friday the 29th of August. Now, Choose Your Challenge can be anything from wearing yellow all month, perming your hair, dyeing your hair yellow, or giving up coffee, completing an event, or hosting your own event. I recently spoke with Sarah Fitzpatrick from the Waikato Bay of Plenty division of the Cancer Society, who explained what Daffodil Day on Friday the 29th of August means for the 1 in 3 New Zealanders affected by cancer.
Daffodil Day, it's about hope. At the end of the day, the daffodil is one of the first flowers of spring, and it's all about the hope that there is for those 1 in 3 people affected by cancer. It's about new beginnings and the onset of happier times.
What are the funds raised used for?
Well, this is one of my favourite things about Daffodil Day and about our appeal, is that all of the money raised in the region actually stays in the Waikato and Bay of Plenty. So you know that you're helping people in your community. We don't receive any direct government funding, and so we do rely on the support of our communities and the generosity of our communities to operate. And this means being able to run our supportive care programs like our liaison nurses, providing funding for counselling, providing frozen meals for people with cancer and their families. It also enables us to fund cancer research, so that hopefully one day we will be able to limit the number of people affected by this disease. And it also helps us provide information to the public about ways that they can reduce their risk of getting cancer.
This year you've added a Choose Your Challenge campaign for Daffodil Day. How does that work?
So we're quite excited about Choose Your Challenge. Cancer is one of the biggest challenges that any New Zealander is likely to face in their lifetime, and so this year we're asking our communities to choose their own challenge to face. It's really simple. All they need to do is go online to challenge.daffodilday.org.nz and sign up. They select the type of challenge they'd like to complete, create a fundraising page, and then go for gold. So send that page out to your friends and family, get them to support you, and then complete your challenge. It's really easy, and if you do need any help with it or any ideas or anything, you just need to give us a call. We're there to help.
What types of challenges could people do?
Sky's the limit. Kind of let your imagination run wild and go for, as I said, go for gold. You could do anything. You could dye your hair yellow, you could wear yellow for the month, give up something like coffee or your cell phone, or really anything. Or a good one to do is, if you're giving up coffee, those $5 that you spend every few days, donate it to the Cancer Society. As I said, the sky's the limit. You could host an event or complete an event like a running challenge or something. We're really looking forward to seeing what people come up with. And the idea that there are so many options means that there is something for everybody, so anyone can get involved with it.
And what other ways can people donate? Maybe volunteer?
Yes, so we're always looking for volunteers and other ways that they can donate. You can donate to support a friend who's participating in a challenge, and as always, we are having our street appeal on Friday the 29th, so keep an eye out for your street collector at a location near you. Otherwise, you can donate online at daffodilday.org.nz or text daffodil to 305.
For more details on Choose Your Challenge or to donate to the Cancer Society, go to daffodilday.org.nz. June the 16th is marked 100 years since 7 men formed Tātua Dairy Cooperative. The anniversary has been acknowledged in a book distributed to all shareholders, outlining the history, developments and achievements of the past 100 years. I spoke with CEO Paul McGilvary and found out that despite all the changes in the world over the past 100 years, some things do stay the same.
We're a cooperative and we like to cooperate, which is the ethos of a cooperative. We're also fiercely and proudly independent. Those sort of things have stayed with the company forever, and the company's about people, and people has been important forever.
You've had a couple of key events so far to commemorate the centenary. Tell me about them.
Well, we started with a book launch. We did a book as a gift from the past to the future. We launched that in March this year. It's been phenomenally well received. It's not a history book, it's just the stories of Tātua, but I think it captures very well the history. We've also had Incorporation Day, which is a recognition of the actual day the company was, the deed to establish the company was founded 100 years ago. Quite a emotive sort of thing, realising on the same site that was signed. But our big one's coming in November. We're going to have a big gala dinner and a big welcome on the day before for our offshore guests, for other people in the dairy industry, for our shareholders and our staff and so on. And this one will be more like a party.
It's the end of the big years of celebrations.
Correct.
Now, with regards to the book, can anyone purchase a copy? How does it work?
Yes, anyone can purchase them. They're on sale in Whitcoulls. We, of course, have given a lot away, but they are definitely on sale and available.
Do you think there's a secret to Tatua's success?
Not really. Not really. The book makes it pretty clear, in terms of all the things that have made up Tatua. But I think the key thing is that Tatua is a Maori flax belt, and the key thing is that the strands of the belt make up a much stronger whole than the individual strands can achieve. So we look at ourselves like that, and we think about, the sort of coming together of all the various things, from people, from strong balance sheets, from all of the things that make a strong company, and it's the combination of those things.
And does it help that it's a small community as well in which you're situated?
Yeah, that's a bit of a two-edged sword. I think the small community is very powerful for bringing people together and aligning people with the sort of goals of the company. But on the other hand, we have to recruit globally and we have to market globally. So from our small community, we are very much a global-oriented business.
And of course, hard to predict 100 years out, but what about the next 10?
Definitely, you're right. 100 years is pretty hard to. You couldn't have predicted the last 100 years very easily. So, next 10, though, I think our revenues will grow from $250 million a year to $400 million. Staff numbers, I think, will increase from 300 to 500. We're facing big demand out of Asia and some of the Pacific Rim countries, and I think that will continue to sustain Tatua very strongly. In fact, I believe our progress in terms of value add will probably be more in the next 10 years than it's ever been in any of the decades in our history.
For more details, go to tatua.com. Still to come, we discover more about the big latch on for Breastfeeding Awareness Week. And up next on Central News, we discover more about the new library planned for Te Awamutu. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News for Wednesday evening. It's been the subject of many discussions, and the lack of space in the Te Awamutu Library prevents the Waipa District Council from working towards national standards and being able to offer a level of service which is comparable to that offered in the Cambridge Library. The council, therefore, has decided to proceed with a new library in Te Awamutu at a cost of $4.4 million, which will form the first stage of a proposed community hub. I asked Waipa District Mayor Jim Milcreast when we can expect to walk through the doors of the new library.
I think it'll be at least 2 years away. There's funding provided for in the annual plan of $4.4 million. At the moment, the council is just working with architects to come up with some concept drawings for the library. And then we'll obviously have to go through the formal tendering processes to get the project underway.
Will the annual plan address the wastewater plant for Te Awamutu?
Yes, in the long-term plan, the Te Awamutu wastewater treatment plant needs upgrading just to meet new environmental standards, and with the growth in the population, the original design was based just on Te Awamutu. But we got funding to put the sewer lines all around Kihikihi village to the south, and that's used up all the spare capacity. So if we want growth, we've got to expand that facility.
Do you encourage Cambridge and Te Awamutu as satellite towns for Hamilton?
Well, I suppose we don't really want to encourage them as satellite towns. We like them to retain their own identity. And from the district's perspective, our position statement, I suppose, as Home of Champions is really working quite well for us, particularly around Cambridge with the Avantidrome and Karapiro and the attraction that is to high performance sport. And for Te Awamutu, we really are focusing on the construction of the new library, a new museum, trying to make this a cultural centre, I suppose, because we have all of the, I suppose, historic sites, Matakitaki Pa, Rangiawhia, Ōrākau, and the environmental features, Mangatautari, Lake Naroto, etc. So we try to position ourselves as somewhere with an identity of its own, but we do get the benefit of being within an easy commute of Hamilton. That's without question.
Tell me about the changes to legislation regarding development contributions. How do they affect the Waipa District?
Well, we're fortunate, I suppose, that we've still got growth, but effectively the development impact fees were to recognise the additional burden that that new developments put on the infrastructure, the sewers and the water supplies. And in the past, councils have also charged additional charges for community facilities like libraries, parks and reserves. The new legislation is effectively saying that the only charge can go for those actual infrastructures like water, sewer, roading, footpaths, etc. So obviously if the developers are not paying, the ratepayer will have to pay. So it's just shifting where that cost burden goes. But development impact fees are only a relatively recent charge, I suppose, on subdivisions, and I think some of them have got out of kilter around the country in terms of additional costs, adding to the cost of housing, so we do need to look at them.
The government, of course, has recently made a change with regard to earthquake-prone buildings. How's it going to affect the Waipaha district?
Yes, well, earthquake-prone buildings are challenged right throughout the country, and the initial change to the legislation meant that every building in the country had to be inspected and assessed. Now there are changes, that legislation actually hasn't been passed as yet, and it looks like it's not going to be as stringent as was first thought. Buildings, the rural buildings like farm sheds and hay barns and cow sheds, etc., that were all covered in the proposed legislation have now been removed, which is fantastic because the chance of getting caught in a hay barn in an earthquake is pretty low. And they're also looking at areas of lower risk throughout the country. But I don't think that that'll actually make too many changes to the requirements to upgrade buildings, because the insurance industry obviously severely hurt by Christchurch and Wellington. And so they're requiring, before they'll insure buildings, that they are built up to earthquake standard. And also we've got occupational safety and health standards now where you can't expect people to work in unsafe buildings.
Still to come, we check the weather at your place. And up next, discover more about Breastfeeding Awareness Week with La Leche League. That's next on Central News. Kia ora, welcome back to Central News. This week is Breastfeeding Awareness Week, a week that aims to raise awareness of the benefits of breastfeeding, encourage the formation of support networks between breastfeeding women, and aim to normalise breastfeeding as a part of daily life. I spoke with Hamilton La Leche League leader Christine Kirkby-Singh to find out about the Big Latch On being held in Hamilton this Friday, and asked what type of support La Leche League provides to breastfeeding mums.
You know, I usually say mums come to La Leche League for the breastfeeding help and they stay for the mothering support. Our mums come along and they might have an issue that's pressing, and then they find, this is a place where I can be real about what's going on. It's not, we try really hard to create a culture that's not competitive, you know, the mummy wars that go on and things. We try really hard to stay out of that and just be a place where mums can be themselves, and we try our best to respect every family is different.
La Leche League is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. How did it begin?
Right, so we're a global organisation, so it started in Chicago in the 50s, and the story goes that we actually started with a couple of mums at a church picnic. There were a couple of mums breastfeeding, and they got so many people coming and saying, oh, I wish I'd been able to breastfeed, oh, I don't know, nothing worked. And they thought, hey, I wonder if we should start a group. And they thought it would just be in their little suburb in Chicago, and within 5-10 years it was an international organisation. So it started with 7 mothers in Chicago, and in 1964 the first group started up in Auckland.
How are you celebrating this milestone?
Well, this year we've been having different events throughout the country. We've been having morning teas and afternoon teas, cutting cakes and getting together past leaders and current leaders and past mums and past current mums together to celebrate. And our big event this year is our conference, which is the first weekend of October, and that's being held in Auckland this year. We've got some international speakers, and it's going to be a fantastic weekend of getting together. We also have a physicians medical professionals day as well, learning day. So that's our big event to celebrate 50 years and getting the alumni along and all that kind of thing.
Now, the 10th anniversary of the Big Latch On is happening this Friday. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the Big Latch On, global event, but actually started here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. So started 10 years ago, and yeah, it's just become this awesome event of celebrating breastfeeding and encouraging mums to keep doing their best. And so that's become 10 years now, so it's really exciting.
And any breastfeeding mum can attend?
Anyone can attend the Big Latch On. Breastfeeding mums, supporters as well. If you just want to come along and support what mums are doing, you're most welcome. So you don't need to be a La Leche League member, you can just be a mum who just wants to come along and be part of the World Count.
Where's it being held?
There are about 6 locations in Hamilton, including up at the hospital and at the birth centres. And the one that I'm helping to organise is at the Plunkett Rooms on Richmond Street. And we're meeting on the Friday, the 1st of August. At 10:30.
The Big Latch On is at Hamilton Plunkett Rooms, 12 Richmond Street, this Friday the 1st of August. Be there at 10 a.m. to register, 10:30 to latch on. For more details, see facebook.com/LLL Hamilton NZ. Time to take a look at the weather now. Hamilton, expect fine spells for your Thursday with northerlies and a high of 18 degrees with a low of 8 overnight. Around the region, Pāroa expect a high of 17 with a low of 7. Matamata 16 and 7 your low. Te Awamutu 18 with a low of 8. Tokoroa you'll sneak through to 15 degrees on Thursday and a low of 9 overnight. Tauranga expect a cloudy day with nor'westerlies and a high of 18 degrees with a low of 10. And around the bay, Te Puke can expect a high of 16 degrees with a low of 10 degrees. And that's Central News for today, Wednesday the 30th of July 2014. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you join us on our Facebook page. Let us know if there's news in your community. I'm Anne-Marie Case-Miller. Ka kite anō.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.